Hey guys, it's Lisa back with another video for you for Lisa Wise Designs, and today we're going to get started on part 4 of our Boho Christmas mini album. I have really enjoyed working on this album. It is really cute. It holds a lot of photos and it's very simple to put together. I hope you think so too. There are a few kits still available, so you can pick one of those up by clicking on the link in the description box below. It'll take you directly to my Etsy shop. And so without further ado, let's get started on part 4. Okay, so let's see where we left off. So we have made the front cover, we made the pocket. I went through and after the last video, I glued down all of my base page mats so we can walk through that. We've got this light green grid pattern. We did the Mary and the dots. I did this green plaid that matches a little Santa hat, and this also underneath it we glued down the flip pocket. Oh, the Christmas gifts, I love that, and I love having this on the right side of it, the dot paper that coordinates with it. The fa la 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 la, and then I put the pink that brings out the pink in that. Okay. Then the Santa with the coordinating little sprig of holly over here. This red and green again, that kind of brings this out of the trees. The poinsettia on the white with dots, that kind of helps brings out the dots over here. And then on this one I did the coordinating poinsettias. You can see it's very busy here, but I really like this flip down where it kind of looks the same except it's the pattern paper is a little bigger. Just remember when you put in your A, B, C, or D photo flaps to put those on first, or either leave yourself an inch of pattern paper that's not glued down at the top and on the open edges, and you can always add more to that. The fa la la paper again, this time coordinating with the green. This looks like a vine almost. I guess it's supposed to be holly that's all stitched together. I'm not sure, but I really like how it brings out the dark greens and the pinks over here. This time the dots with the presents. And here's the dot paper on the khaki with the Very Merry and Bright, so I will not be putting a picture on this one. I put one of the C flaps here, so we'll be putting a 3x4 cut apart there. And then the small poinsettias on the dark green. And then on the back cover, I have not put anything on here quite yet. So that's all 24 sheets of the 6x8 pattern papers, and you don't have to cut them down at all. I designed this book where you can just slap that 6x8 paper down. So I really like that. All right, so now we're gonna get started back on the middle of page 25 on your cutting guide. We are going to decide which cutter parts that we're going to use. So for me, on these 4x6, I wanted this Santa, mainly because it was the only one that was in the vertical position, because I wanted a tag on the front of my book here. So I chose to cut that one out because of the Santa. And then I also really liked this pink one, so I'm going to cut that one out. So that means I'll have to cut all 3 of these and this one, and I'll keep these 2 intact. And on the 3x4 cutter parts, I wanted a line that I could use either this one, or this one, and then the rest of it we'll be able to use that fa la 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 paper on the back. So what I went with was the top because I really liked these 2, and there is a picture of this on middle of 25. I think I just showed these 2, but I wound up using this whole strip since I had to cut them apart anyway. So let's go ahead and do that. And we'll cut off the branding strip. And then cut off this top 3x4 cut apart. And then cut all those down. So since I already, like I said, had them cut apart, I might as well find places to use them, and so I did. I'm trying really hard to use what I have and not have leftovers, because what are the odds that I'm going to go back to a pack of paper that's only got a few elements left of it. When usually what I do is make albums with it. I know you can make cards and a few things like that with them, but I don't ever seem to get around to it. So I'm trying my best to use things up as I can. So I need this Santa. All right. And so now these we could use, or we could use the backs, and then I wanted this pink one. So I'll keep the others intact for that dotted paper. And then I have this whole sheet here for that fall la la la. So I'm going to put these in my scrap pile because we will come back to those soon. I'm going to trim this one back up because I didn't get that one trimmed quite well. It's got a little bit of white on the side. I don't want that. Okay. So in our book, you can add these 3x4 mats. This is one of the C's, and I decided to go with this one. I thought this one would be perfect because it has these dots in it to kind of help mimic these dots here. So I'm get my Distress ink in Vintage Photos, what we've been using for this class, and I'm just going to put that one there. And then I should be able to crop down a photo to put on the back of this. Grab my glue. I moved this this glue press around with me in the house as I am working, and I really just need to pick up another one because I'm always trying to find it as I'm working, and I really like it. Really makes things easier for my hands. Burnish that down. I think that's a really good look there. And like I said, I can put a picture here and a picture here, and then just keep this kind of plain here. I think it makes a statement on its own. All right, then I'm going to flip to the back cover, and I really wanted to use this pink one that says "Let it snow, let it snow, let it snow," and it has the snow globes. Fun fact, my daughter collected snow globes for many, many years, and everywhere we went, we had to try to find one. She stopped doing that as of now, but it was such a cool collection. And in Europe, they did not know what a snow globe was. They didn't know that terminology. They knew it by water ball, and I always thought that was hilarious. So I just moved this flip-flop down, and I think I'll put this here at the top, and then we'll come back and we will put pattern paper to finish this out. And this will be also how you would put your photos in. But I'll say once again, these photo mats are made where you don't have to choose just yet if you want them to be vertical or horizontal, or portrait, landscape, whatever you call it, because they're big enough to do in either orientation. I like that. Okay, so now let's flip on over in our instructions on page 26, and we're going to start working on some tags that's in your kit. Here's some of the goodies we have not opened yet. It's in our kit, so we're going to get to those today. Yay! And here is the, I was going to say, this was not in your kit. That's just a piece here, but this is what came in the little plastic bag that was in your kit. You have a tag, some ribbons and twine, and a couple of silver jingle bells. So to the cutter parts, I decided to use this one with the Christmas tree. Like I said, the Santa. And for the Santa, you just need to take a piece of leftover your cardstock and cut it down to 4 1/4. And I cut it to be 7 3/4 tall, and those measurements are at the top of 26. And the reason I made it so tall is I wanted it to stick out in a certain way out of that pocket that's on the front. I wanted to be able to see, a certain part of that. So I just made sure that those dimensions worked for what I wanted it to be. And so we're just going to put the Santa, we're going to put him, centering him right and left, and then to the top, and then we're going to leave a section here at the bottom. I'm going to put some pattern paper there. before the glue dries. Like I can't add any more, right? Okay, let's see. That's pretty good. Can add some to the corners there if I need to. And then I'm going to do the same here on this tag. And I'll give you the measurements for this tag even though it's in your kit, just in case you're following along and want to make one. If I had a ruler, here it is. This is 3 1/8 by 6 1/4. I love how this kit has everything from the reds and pinks to the dark greens and light greens, all these different shades. It's just been one of my favorites. All right, so let's finish these up by cutting some extra sheets or some mats. So we're at the middle of 26, so I need that fa la la paper that's left over and some of this green, light green and the dots. So for the fa la la la, I need 1 3/8. Okay. Guess it doesn't matter here. 1 3/8, so a little bit less than 1 1/2. So we should just need one strip because we need a 4-inch strip off of this and a 3-inch. There's that. Put the rest of that away. And then the dots, same, 1 3/8. By 4, this first one, that. Then I need another one. Oh. This one is by 3. This is going to be on that tag, so it's a little bit shorter. And then I decided on this one to cut it in half. Okay. Stomach is grumbling. You know what's weird? This week, I had a lot. I live in a neighborhood. I mean, it's not brand new and it's not old. I've been here 7 years or so. And they were, new construction houses. But we've had a lot of like traveling salesman type people this summer. A lot of people just hitting the streets, from individuals, wanting to cut grass and trees, to corporations like AT&T, trying to sell you their new fiber internet service and stuff. I don't know what it is. It's just been very, very odd to have so many people ring the doorbell. It's not like when I was young and people would just pop in, You'll have to let me know if you're seeing more of that lately. I'm not sure if people are just hustling or, or what it is. So on the tree, I did, the 3-inch fa la 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 all the way up, to the edge of the cutter part, just like that. I just have found that very odd. Up until this year, we've not had hardly, anyone that comes by, except maybe we have lots of kids on Halloween, looking for the candy. I don't know, it must be hard times and people are hustling, I don't know. So then on the other side, I decided to kind of, like I said, cut that in half and then put half of it at the top. And then you'd have your picture here and the other half here at the bottom. So you might want to go ahead and measure that or leave this one off until you get your picture. Like so. Right, and your picture would go here. So I either don't answer the door if it's an individual I don't know or feel unsafe, or I walk outside to talk to them. I don't know what to do. I haven't had any Jehovah's Witnesses in a while. That was the first year I was here. We had them all summer stopping by. Gonna put this to the side and then work on this one. So put the fa la 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 here underneath the Santa. I really like this one, but it kind of blends in to me. There's no pop between the two since it's kind of the same coloring. And look, and I just said don't put this one here, but it's okay. I'm gonna flip it over to the top and put this, you can put it at the top of the bottom, and then you've got room for your 4x6 photo here. Alright, so put this to the side for a moment. Let's work on our tag. So you should have about 8 inches of this dark green ribbon, and I fold it in half and put the fold in this little hole instead of the tag, and then you have a loop on the back, and you take these 2 tails and pull it through the loop, just like that. Pretty standard how you make a tag. Okay, we'll come back and trim that in just a second. So then you have some of this pink and white twine or baker's twine, and see how it brings out the pink and this down here and then the pink here on the decorations. So I did this the same way. I folded it in half and pulled the loop into the back, and then I put the green like inside the loop so that this pink is going to come in front of it, just like that. Okay, so here's that. Okay. Then I put the tails through because I want to be able to see that pink. Like this on top of the green, just to give you something a little extra and something to put jingle bells on. Okay, and I just kind of tighten that up. Then you can decide how long you want your tails. I like to cut them at angles. A little shorter. I didn't get that one quite right, the angle I wanted. These scissors don't cut well. Okay, so now we're going to put on our jingle bells. You may be able to thread them. I'm going to wet it a little bit here. Twisted. Maybe I'll just get a new cut. If not, I would recommend using a threader, which I will probably do that instead of struggling. So these are dental threaders. I mean, you can get these small threaders at craft stores sometimes. I get them in the toothpaste, toothbrush aisle. They're made for braces, but they're really teeny tiny, and that's what I need. Like, you can get all kind of threaders for crafts, but this one's way too big for that. So you would take the little pointed end and put that in the jingle bell, and then in the loop you would put your baker's twine, and then you can just pull it through. It's pretty easy that way. So then you could tie it on however you want to. You could put a knot on the end. You could just knot it at the top of the bell, which is what I'm going to do, and then trim up your tails. This is a good way to add three-dimensional items, is on something that's removable, in either inside your journal or your scrapbook, your album, or on the cover. Let's see, this one didn't want to work as smooth, but I could just pull it through here. And that way it doesn't get in the way of turning your pages when you're taking a look at them, and you still have that little 3-dimension on there. So that's why I decided to put a tag with this on it, so that we could take the tag out and put it to the side as we're looking through the book if it gets in the way. So you get a bunch of these for just a couple of dollars at Walmart, Target, and I love that it comes, this one came with a case, except that I can't get it back in there. So this will last me for many, many years. Okay, there we go. So cute. So then we will add a couple of pieces of ephemera on there, and then these will be done. So back onto this one, same thing. We can add something to it. And then if we want to, we can add some of our brads, which is what I did on my first one. And these decorative brads do not have the little pointy ends to it, the little brad legs, a lot of people call them, sticking out. They're just adhesive. And I just like to add some more glue to those. So I find these much, much easier to use. You don't have to try and hide the back or remember to use them, you know, on the fronts. So let's go ahead and get our ephemera out so we can start using those. Let me put this to the side. I'm going to show you my ephemera keeper, if I have it. Okay, I found it. Like I said, I've been moving things around too much. So this is just a 1/2-inch binder I picked up from Office Depot. And this is just leftover pattern paper just to make it kind of pretty for this presentation that I had left over when making my kits. But my mother and I bought some extra heavy page protectors from Office Depot, which you just, you know, are just open just to put large pieces of paper in. And then she sewed some for me and cut slits in them so that I could put ephemera in it. Here's the other project I've been working on in my spare time for me, made with the same cutting guide. I'm going to show you that at the end of this series of how different that it would look making the Boho Christmas album with different pattern papers. But anyway, so she made some that's got like 4 or 5 strips in it for small pieces of ephemera, and then they get bigger by making them into like 4 strips and then down to 3 strips. So I really like this homemade version of an ephemera keeper. I know there's lots of different ways people use theirs and look through them, but I thought that I would share this with you and see if this is something that you might could make or something that you would like, if you would like us to offer this to you. I've made other things in the past. I believe this was something Genevieve showed on her channel on how to make, because this was made with some of the see-through paper, like the vellums, where you can cut slits in it and put your different items. Now it is a lot more stable, so to speak, but it tore so easily. I guess I was too rough on it. Anyway, so this didn't work out for me, even though I love how it looks. So this is what we went to. Okay, so I'm going to start putting things here just so that I can find them easily, and I may speed you guys up as I'm doing this. Okay, I have gotten the basics in here to show you. So I put my numbers in order if you're doing a December daily. Then I've gotten, it's a lot of ephemera. It's 3, yeah, with the, there's 3 packs with the numbers here. So you can put your ephemera out, whatever makes sense to you. I've been using trays for many, many years, and that works too. But I thought this was a fun new idea to find it, find what I need. So this is what's left over when you take these apart. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to cut the top of this off. And then the teeny tiny ones that are so hard to find, I'm going to put in this little bag. Oh, there's a little hole at the bottom. So that's helpful. Get some washi tape here that's on my desk. Cover up that whole hole. Aren't these cute? These are like little Small World people that I had left over from a project. Just love it. I love Disney. Okay, so now I can reuse this bag. I'm going to do this again on my next little project. Now I'm going to stick these in here, and I'm going to see if this helps me trying to keep up with them. These are the only ones I'm having problems with, trying to get them out of the sleeves. And I'm going to put it in one of these bigger sleeves at the top so I can just pull that out. So I'm just going to trim this up a little more. So it kind of fits down in there. Okay. All right. And then what I like to do on things like this that are packaged, like these brads that are packaged already kind of glued down onto something, there's no need to take those off. What I like to do is put like a strip of tape here. I know none of this you have to do, but I know if something is readily accessible to me, if it's ready to go, I am more apt to pick it up and use it than if I have to take it out of the package. I don't know why that is, but if I can just pick it up and take stuff right off of it, I'll do that. So that's why I try to get everything out. So we're going to use all the pieces of ephemera in this project, and we'll use a few of these brads. I said they're very chunky, so I don't use a whole lot of them inside the project, but it's a great place to use it on the outside of the project. So we're going to go back to looking and working on our tags. So the bottom of page 26, you'll see photos there. So to add a little more to these, because they're going to be on the outside and we can take them off, I thought we would use some of these decorative brads. I'm going to put one on the tree and then 3 in a row here on Santa. So I like to add extra glue on these because they are going to have some wear and tear on and be on the front of the album. So you can pick which one that you like. I like a little bit bigger one here on the tree, so I picked this red present. And I'm going to, even though it's got glue on it, I'm going to add some more glue to it. Make sure my present is in the right orientation here. You can press it down to hold it, or you can use a clip, which is what I like to do. Okay, kind of hold that on in place for a few seconds. So now let's work on Santa. I think we need to put like 3 here again. So I wanted to use these smaller ones. And I'm going to start with red. I'm going to keep them kind of toward the top of Santa because we want to put this inside a pocket. So I don't want to kind of put them at the bottom where they'll scrape against it and wear it off. I think this time I'm going to use pink. Okay. That's my thinking anyway. And then this dark green. So far, so good. I haven't had anything fall off, but I don't want to take any chances. So I just put a binder clip there to kind of hold those down. Now to finish these off, I think we need to put a couple of pieces of ephemera on there. So my samples that I originally had, I had a little piece of holly here, and then this poinsettia there. Here, and then that there. Okay, if you want to add those. And I'll put these, let those dry for a few minutes. So basically what's left is to put everything back in our book and kind of show you a run through of what mine looks like. So here is the finished album. Okay. So when you put this in here, like I said, so see these stick out, they don't come down into the album. And then this one, standing here, kind of overlaps a little bit, and so this one stays out, and then your jingle bells. That makes a really, really cute presentation. You could put a picture here if you wanted to, or you could put another, I don't really like that, but you could put something else there on the front. I kind of like the way this looks here. You could even put some more of your decorative brads here at the bottom in a line. That would be cute. Make sure you tell me what you do with yours. You know, leave me a comment or post something to the Facebook group here. Now, I would normally put some stuff here, but I use every one of my embellishments here. So let's walk through here. So I took the leftover 3x4 card, and I made, 3 1/4 by 4 1/4 cut apart, and put that here on the front, because this is what's going to hold this pop-up element down. And then I used a 4x6 photo is what the white is here. So this is 4 1/4 by 6 1/4. So I'm just going to layer those here. And then I put a piece of ephemera here, and then 2 of our brads. All right, so you can put photos here, and then here's a piece of ephemera, and then when you open it up, there is a picture of this in your cutting guide, so you can see which cut aparts and or ephemera pieces that I use here. Right. I decided to put a little strip here of paper where I could put a small photo, and then I added a piece of ephemera here that looks like a tab. You could put a whole 4x6 photo here. Right, and so like I said, to keep this closed, you'd have a 4x6 photo, a 3x4 cut apart, put a photo on the back there. So like I said, if you're using this for a December daily, which means, you take a picture a day or whatever activities you're working on in December. I'm gonna close my glue here. Then you could put number 1 here for the first day of December and 3 pieces of ephemera in your photo. Let me skip the page here. Then here's 2 pieces of ephemera. I love this little stocking that's pink with a label and then the number 2. And if you don't want to use it as a December daily, I would just leave the numbers off and use this for your journaling piece here. Mary, 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 the number 3, and then this little swag. On number 4, I love this. This is so cute. So boho, which is what we're going for, right? With the 4, and then this looks like a wood cut apart, and then I have a ornament there at the top. So this is the Santa one. So when you open Santa, I decided to add the ho 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 little ephemera piece here, and then add a small photo here with the number 5 on the back. Right. And then I cut down this 3x4. I cut it down as small as I could get it without cutting off the ho ho ho, and then matting it just to give something on the front. And then inside the pocket you can put a full 4x6 with a 4 1/2, about 4 1/4 by 6 1/4 mat. I added the Christmas present over the Christmas present. She kind of gives it a little bit of dimension with the 6, and then added these pieces here with the photo. Another photo with the swag, the Santa, the 8. So I like how, if I'm not going to put the 8 there, that I can just do some journaling about the photos, or they may just be cute just to have on there like they are. I'm trying to figure out, I've got some professional photos that I'm going to show you a walkthrough of that book, like I said, with some different pattern paper. I'm trying to decide if I want the numbers on there or not. The fa la la, and then this is so cute. It's made up of dots, but it's a star. And then Santa with the 11, and see how he's got the holly in his hat. So it's got the holly here and here. I try to pull those kind of things together when I can. The 12, got the joy up here, kind of cut across the side. And I do kind of make sure that I'm not gluing it down over the white piece of paper. So if you're giving this as a gift, you may want to make sure you're doing that so that they can just pull this piece out and put their photo. So none of this is glued down over that, so that they can just pull this off and pull it out. So this is made of temporary adhesive and it comes right out like that. So on number 13, I've got the big journaling block with a star. And on 14, again, I have one of these journaling pieces, a tree. And on 15, we have a wreath that I've kind of cut down on the side. And then you'll notice the cutoff part here is down here with the tree layered on the top of that. So 16 and 17, these were those big pattern papers. I put a ephemera piece here. This will be your photo. I think that's kind of all you need. There's a lot going on here already. And then the 17 on top of this journaling piece, and just a little heart here. So if I take off the white, I'll have to get that heart off. Bit of magic. Like I said, this is not glued down on the top. And 18 with an ornament. I love this little rainbow. 19 that comes with a tag and a tree. It's another really good place to cut out like some of these tags to add some twine to it. The 20 and a stack of presents. And then the 21 has one of these long pieces here, the ephemera. And then that says good cheer. That looks like a tab. 22, we've seen this one. This is where we put the 3x4 cut apart. The 22 and the stocking. And so I just left this plain. It makes such a big statement on its own. 24, I added a photo flap because I know on Christmas Eve we're going to have lots of photos for my mom's birthday. We always get together at Christmas Eve, so I'll have another spot here for photos. And this is on one of the journaling spots that looks like the water ball that comes from Europe. And then the Christmas ornament. So there's lots of places here too for photos on the back cover, a lot. So on these pull downs that are for portrait 4x6 photos like we take with your iPhone. And then the rest of these, you have the strips, and they're the instructions are at the bottom of 27 to cut 8 strips at 1 3/4 by 6. And so no matter if you have your photo in the vertical or horizontal, then you can use these strips to take up the rest of the space. So here I have a swag. So on this one, I decided to use, a portrait or vertical orientation. And so then I put the piece on this side with a couple pieces of ephemera. Right, and so this is the same way. I like how this looks kind of opposite here. And even though the presents are sideways, I think that looks good with the Hey Santa. This one here with the presents again with this. This kind of looks like macrame to me. Not real sure, but it's kind of cool. I guess that would make sense if it's boho for it to be macrame. The fa la la paper with a little snow globe. Another snow globe here with the tree with the dots. And then this dot that's brownish, this holly jolly. And then the fa la la paper with this little, looks like gingerbread houses, but they're kind of wood. I'm not sure, but I do like it. So then I had this one page that all of these will be on Christmas Day, but then the actual 25 I put here on the very back cover with a vertical photo. It says 25, and then it has this piece of a journaling ephemera piece. And then for some reason I decided I wanted to tear that and put it there. Don't know why I decided to do that. Sometimes I just get a wild hair and do those pieces. So I hope you have enjoyed this project. I love it. I love the paper. I love how it turned out. I love how it's kind of simplistic but fun. And I will do one more video in this series like I said, with different pattern papers. You can see how that turns out. And I'll walk you through how I use that ephemera on it. So thank you guys so much for joining me, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!